Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Blue Sock. Again, John, Dave, and myself are going to look back over Ireland's comprehensive victory against Canada last weekend, and of course look forward to our big game against the All Blacks in the Aviva. So boys, 52-21 against Canada, 8 tries, mixed the good with the bad.
Yeah, ultimately it was
Good.
a handy enough win. Canada put it up to us a bit, but then that's Canadians often do. I mean, they're not the type to take a backward step. We made a few mistakes, let them back into it, but then second half rectified those and then just took them apart. We had far too much off the bench. Ultimately, I mean, their bench replacements and our bench replacements is the difference between
Shit and choice.
between chalk and cheese. Ultimately, we had too much power everywhere. We had too much power, certainly up front, between any of the forwards who played.
Yeah.
Do you think Luke Marshall will be happy with his performance?
No, I don't. No, sorry, I don't actually. When you say it, no, I think he'd be happy about elements of it. I think it was very unusual that he was signalled out by Joe Schmidt for particular criticism, for the intercept pass.
Nice knock on in front of the line as well.
So I think again, but he did a lot of good things that will kind of get wiped out in the midst of
I
the bad thing.
I think it was disappointing that we conceded 3 tries, and against a team like Canada, they're fairly lowly ranked, 17th or 18th, and they're not.
Well,
there's not many houses. I think they had 7 or 8 amateur players playing for them.
But if you look at it, where we were in the World Cup against them, we beat them 52-7, and this was almost entirely changed 15. And we were still able to do some serious damage against them. It just showed. To a certain extent, you can't win this game. It's like one of those games that the way I always say, you can't win against Italian teams, because if you win, you're supposed to win, and if you don't win well enough, why didn't you win well enough?
Yeah.
So, I think it's one of those games where you do what you can, and I mean there were a lot of good things about it. Players got experience. Some guys got caps who hadn't been capped before. It was nice to see.
Some of them scored tries.
I was particularly. I thought he might start, but I was glad to see Adi Loken get a start, get a cap.
Yeah, we got a good cheer for his one run that he got as well. Everybody's very happy to see him.
Where I was sitting was on the west side of the stadium, and I was looking at Gilroy. I'd say Gilroy got more ball in the first half than he has in the entire season playing for Ulster. But he didn't do a huge amount with it either. I was disappointed. As I said, he had a great amount of ball, but didn't. But then he had other fellas like Ultan Delan, who just was head and shoulders above any other player on the pitch. Sean O'Brien was very hungry to get involved and wanted to.
I thought the back row on mass went well.
Yeah.
I was the one thing I didn't think we made enough use of Jack O'Donoghue's footballing ability off the back of scrums and things. I thought we could have been a bit, but then maybe there was a certain element of we don't want to show a hand.
Yeah, I thought there was very lot of one out runs.
Yeah, because Jack O'Donoghue's the kind of player who could run a fancy play off the back of a scrum because he's such a good footballer,
Yeah, no, I like him as a player.
Yeah.
He was in the Ireland squad before. I know he didn't get capped, but he was in the Ireland squad last year. I remember seeing him at Carton House, and he was there. Proud as punch in his Ireland gear, but. I just felt that it's very hard to change 15 players in a team and expect them to be totally cohesive and on message and all playing in the right direction. I thought they actually did reasonably well considering that it was 15 strangers. It's very hard to put a team together. I mean, I know they trained together, and I know they probably are the.
It's kind of mentioned actually in the build-up to it that the team hadn't trained that much. They hadn't put not very much effort into this game. It was all the emphasis was on the next two.
I was going to say that since the World Cup was finished, almost the entire focus of Irish rugby, certainly from an international perspective, has been on the game in Chicago 2 weeks ago, the game in the game in the Aviva next week, and the game against Australia the week after. And this kind of game is the ugly stepchild squeezed in between, And for us to actually kind of prepare a team that well, while still not dipping into the playbook as well, it's a very difficult kind of situation for the coach to be in.
Yeah, I was quite happy. Obviously, when they let in 3 tries, especially the first 2 when they're coming back.
One of them was ultimately an own try, really.
It was, DTH gobbled it up there, but they put it right, and they did put a performance together, and they looked like an Ireland team as well. They looked kind of a Joe Schmidt team in the end. Okay, few errors, but one thing I was going to say when you were talking about Luke Marshall, for example, you can't have more than one error in a game at international, say playing the All Blacks level or playing a Six Nations Grand Slam decider level or a World Cup quarter final level. You just, if you're gonna have, if a player is gonna have more than one mistake in the game, you're probably not gonna win it, because the margins are so fucking, like there was very few mistakes made against the All Blacks in Chicago.
Yeah, and they will punish you. Like you see,
they're the very team.
but
exactly.
you see a team like Canada punish you. Well, DTH Van der Merwe is a good player, so he pounced on an error by Marshall. And,
But I think
you can imagine. You can only imagine what the All Blacks would do to you if
it would require a significant set of circumstances before Luke Marshall be starting against the All Blacks. Though.
I would have thought so. Yeah.
I mean, even no matter what had
Or
happened
even
against
benching.
Canada,
Against the
no matter
All
what
Blacks.
happened against Canada. So
Well, one guy I thought that did kind of impress was Tiernan O'Halloran.
yeah.
Like he looked very sharp when he was going forward in attack, and did the functional job of full back too.
He's been a name that's been on the edge of people's lips for quite a few years actually, since he was in his late teens when he first broke into the Connacht team, and then he kind of went through a dip in form after his first year or two. But he's really come back now. The shift to full back has really suited him.
The Connacht team suits him as well.
Yeah.
Like, I just think he's very. I hate to start on a negative, but I just think he's very predictable because he hardly ever kicks, which is weird for a fullback. He seems to want to take it on every single time he gets the ball, which on one hand is brilliant, and especially in a Connacht team that wanted to run it from everywhere anyway. But I just maybe at test level he just a little bit easily worked out.
The thing is, if you think back to Tiernan O'Halloran before Pat Lam came, he actually has a prodigious boot. If you recall, he has a big ass boot in him.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm just saying that he doesn't seem to use it so much, which is odd for a fullback. Having said that, got the negative stuff out of the way. The guy is a class act. Like
He's a quality player.
He's really good.
But, like, it
with
gives
the ball in hand, he's deadly.
And it gives options then, because you got Carney, you got him, you got Payne potentially, then you've got
Henshaw, fullback.
yeah, true enough.
Yeah.
And then we've seen Guy Ringrose getting capped again at the weekend.
Yeah.
So it means that it might be a big ask for a young fella to come into the centre against the All Blacks, but there's a potential there that he could come through.
There'd be interesting. Ringrose is one of the guys around whom a lot of the selectorial questions for Saturday, and it's something we'll deal with in the second part of the show. But he's one of the guys who a lot of the selectorial questions are kind of cascading.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's not get into it right now, but like.
So
I don't think things are going to change.
We've 8 tries, so why don't we have a quick butchers at them?
I think we just run them all one after another and yak away.
So Earlsey was the first.
Yeah. I don't know. People are saying he had a good game, that he could have displaced Zebo. I don't think
he displaced Zebo.
He might get 23 though.
Yeah, I think so. Billy Holland played well. He called the lineouts well. This is a move we've seen actually quite a few times from both Ireland and Leinster this year, indeed.
Marmion had a decent game, I thought. I know we're all kind of scared if Conor Murray ever slips in the shower, but I thought he did well.
I thought he did fine. It's very hard to say against. Although their number 9 was probably one of their best players as well. So.
Yeah, I think everyone kind of performed well. O'Mahony came back in, he played well. Keane Healy, Cronin as well.
I don't think we're going to get much change out of our maul next week. I'd say that'll be well drilled.
And again, we mightn't go to it as much, if they're expecting it. Might be a plan to go with.
There's Marshalls now.
Yeah.
But if you look at the way the ball has been used all the time, great feat there from Keith Earls. That makes the overlap. Because we didn't try anything, if you notice, in the back line at all. It was all one out or straight 1-to-1 passing. And what Keith Earls did with that little bit of footwork is he actually gave Jackson time to loop around and create an overlap without actually doing anything for it.
Yeah.
It was lovely footwork, and he took. I mean, Marshall finished it well, but that try was all Earl's work,
He did very well.
Let's see him here now. Step in, out. It's a change of direction that killed everyone.
Because Marshall can loop around, or because Jackson can loop around, it brings the guy in off the wing.
So Tiernan O'Halloran's first try.
Now this was a lovely try actually.
Sure was. You're talking about guys taking the initiative once,
Yeah.
like it's kind of fortuitous start to it, where the ball just hops out.
Turbo powered handoff here. Boom.
Like Sean O'Brien
Yeah.
against the
Yeah.
Ospreys a few years ago.
This is just good play. I mean,
Lovely break.
yeah, but again, it's not just about the line or the offload. It's about the supporting line being run. You know,
Yeah.
there.
Boom.
It was nice offload as well
Yeah.
from.
But if
tight
if O'Halloran doesn't make that line,
Nice bit
it's
of
just a
wheels.
ball that's going to ground. You know,
yeah, but
that's what I mean. There's so much responsibility on the guy making the run as well as the guy.
of course, yeah,
Yeah.
but it was still good to get the hands out of the tackle.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's a good footballer, Beelum, actually.
Yeah.
He looks comfortable with ball in hand. Always
Same
does.
Tyke Furlong as well. You see the two of them at
Yeah.
back of his rooks, playing this lovely handoff,
Mm.
playing the scrum half row, which is tight head props don't often do. Even Getton Jenkins is only a loose head prop.
Once your man was once he was into the backfield, there was no way they were going to be able to.
Yeah.
Here it is. Here up close and personal.
It was a great attendance at the game, wasn't it?
It's huge. Yeah, it really
Like-
was.
I'm not saying it was completely full, but there was.
I was near as full
Wasn't
as
That was
far
full,
off.
yeah.
I'd say every ticket was sold.
Yeah.
I'd say the
There was.
yeah,
Well, it was officially a sellout. So.
I'd say the empty seats were guys who'd bought multi packs and weren't
Yeah.
going to the Canada game
Exactly, yeah.
because there was a couple of guys either side of us. Certainly one bunch who came in, had a few drinks, and then left before half time.
As you do. So here's Mr. P. Try.
One of Ireland's most consistent players.
Yeah. I'm glad he's a Leinster player.
The great thing to notice between this try and is it Marmion's try, is that we've two entirely different front rows and are still doing
Yeah.
damage.
Well, in fairness, as Jason said earlier, most of their bench don't even play professional
No, that's
rugby.
true.
So
But still, that's their problem, not
But
ours.
your man-
You know, all we can do is all we want is our guys to do their best. You know,
what's your man's name? De Justice, €50 or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that.
Duro or something.
He's he kind of wilted.
Mm.
You know, I mean,
Well, he's a guy that I think Canadian rugby have invested a fair bit in.
yeah,
You see, Mark Anscombe is the head
he's
coach.
their head coach.
Well,
yeah.
One of their better provinces is actually Nova Scotia, and that is coached by Jack Hanratty. Do you remember Jack?
Mhm.
He used to do Leo the Line at Leinster matches. He's the head coach in Nova
Really?
Scotia. Yeah, his father was the commercial manager before Ciara Kennedy. He's the head coach of Nova Scotia rugby, so he's coaching one of their provincial sides.
Okay, pretty good.
And there's a fella coaching the national team who married a Welsh bird.
Yeah, but he really deserved that for his overall performance. I mean, Delan was just superb, and that try was a
He did.
nice cherry on the cake.
If he hadn't have made it, he had about 4 players outside him that would have made it as well.
Yeah, and when he made his break, do you remember he made about 40 metres in one break
Yeah.
in the second?
Serious
in the
pace.
first half. I was shouting, come on, let it out. No, it's okay. Go yourself.
There's Earls again, showing great hunger. Marginally offside, but great hunger.
Boom. And your man, the hooker, had the wit not to play
Yeah.
the ball. But you can't quite see it in that shot, but he did have at least 3 players to his left that he could have brought into play.
Different front row this
Is
time.
it-
I was
is
great to
this
see
the
James
Marmion-
Tracy get his
Yeah,
his
his cap and
his
try.
try. Yeah,
He's trying.
This is Marmion's try, is it?
Yeah.
Well, it was.
It's nice to
Was
see
Mr.
a
P
ref
try, if not
give
him.
the actual try rather than just going for the P try. He waited to see. He was given the penalty try, but he waited to see if a player would get it down. So
developing,
it would go to a player.
Like, at that point, it was 35-21. You know, okay, we know it was Canada, but
Mm.
against another team with 65 minutes and you're only 14 points ahead, you'd be kind of sweating a little bit.
That'd be a very different thing against another team, though. The whole environment would be different. You know, there wouldn't be gobshites in the crowd doing Mexican waves for a start.
I thought, yeah, I know it was a pain in the arse.
By the way, Irish government, people who do Mexican waves, take their children off them. It's for their own good.
That's pretty much everyone in the stadium, Jason.
No, you don't.
Dave. Is this...
It's a Halloran second try.
Halloran second try, okay. So many of them, I get confused. I thought Kilcoyne
Kilcoyne
showed
carried
well,
very, very
didn't
well.
he?
Yeah.
I've heard him being slagged off for trying to just look for the big carries and not do the hard work, but he did a bit of that as well. I thought he had a good game. It's good to have someone like him pushing the two.
The other side of
lads
it is,
ahead of
you don't know how, if Joe has said, look, go out there and just carry. You've got 20 minutes, just run yourself into the ground carrying the ball. That could be his job.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, there was a good break from,
lovely little break from Gazer.
and a feature in nearly all the tries, Mr. Earls' involvement.
Yeah.
You know?
I think he might make it back into the...
Ironically, he might make it at Gary Ringrose's expense.
He will.
I wouldn't be too surprised now if that happened.
Yeah.
I think
He
there'll
does,
be
he does have,
two less
he
Leinster
does
players
maybe
on the
50
bench.
caps on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he seems to have got his angry head on him in the last couple of weeks as well, which... Keith Earls is a good player when he's focused,
Yeah,
you know?
no, he's a super player if he
Yeah.
plays in the wing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Boom. There he is with the carrying again. And Mr. Tracy just says, they're all tired, I'll give it a lash. And over he goes.
Literally the last move.
The last move of the game.
Yeah.
I was glad for him. I mean, he's
Good to see him go. He's
yeah.
playing great for him this
Yeah,
year, isn't
has
it?
been,
For
yeah.
Leinster.
And Joey came on for his second cap.
Yeah.
A guy who's so muscular in defence for the size of him as well, you know, he gets stuck in.
Yeah.
Joey.
Joey, yeah.
When people say for the size of him, he's a big bloke. I mean, what is he, 6'1"?
He's not. He's willowy, come on.
He's a big, strong guy.
He's probably
Another
bigger
year, a year of full-time professional rugby, and he'll put a stone on that. You can be sure of it. I remember
I think
meeting.
should be in any hurry to be putting on too
I remember
much weight.
meeting Luke Fitzgerald when he was in sixth year, and then meeting him again a couple of months later in his first year in at Leinster Rugby. Jesus, the difference.
Well, he just spent that entire summer in the
Oh
gym.
yeah. But no, it was a good. In the end of the day, I mean, the tries were nice tries, and
Yeah.
it was a good exercise, and we've done our bit for Tier 2 nations, and full house. Everybody got to say, kind of, in a way, say thank you for what happened the week beforehand.
But just
Yeah.
goes to show what a little bit of success does.
Oh, yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, you've got the full house in there for the Canada game, which a couple of years ago, maybe 2010, was a
Yeah.
hard
Oh,
sell.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
a hard
yeah.
sell for the South Africa game. For
Now,
the,
We played him in Thomond Park in, when was it, 2008 was it?
Yeah.
Keith Earls' debut.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. And
it was the actual first game in Thomond Park, actually. And I'm going to sound like a grumpy old man, and I don't care if I do or not. It just shows that, you know, you don't need Mexican waves or thunderclaps to take their children off them as well. In the
don't even know
ground,
what
if
they
you,
are.
it's Icelandic thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, from the football. yeah.
You think it's a slow hand clap, didn't you?
Yeah, he thought it was the old Ralph Keys days. Do you remember that? But all you need is a team playing well, and people will come and watch it and support it, and you know.
Well, before when we look at we look forward to the New Zealand game in the second half. But this week was the official announcement. The IRFU launched and the government launched the Rugby World Cup bid in 2023. And as you were saying, you've got a successful team. You saw Canada; they're no great shakes. Yet there was 48,000 or whatever there was in the stadium.
I'd just like to say, give us the World Cup, or we have a very special set of skills. We will find you. We will kill you.
I thought that's what the video was going to be. There is no reason not to give us the World Cup. We have we have the hotel rooms, we have the infrastructure, we have the grounds, we
Well, you
have
probably won't get
everything.
it then.
There's no reason. Well, there's one reason: Brexit. Brexit could spell it could be a disaster. It might not be. Here's the thing, right? You're a number cruncher, Jason. When you're
been called worse occasionally.
crunching numbers for a business venture, and you add in a certain amount of uncertainty, how much does business like uncertainty?
Not very much.
It doesn't like it very much. Now, we don't know what the exact situation for two of the grounds in our World Cup bid is going to be. 3? What's the third?
Derry.
Derry.
It's 2 in
Oh, there's
Belfast.
2 in Belfast. Yeah, sorry. What it's going to be. We don't know if we bring. Here's an example. I gave this example before, and it's a small one. But if you add up 100 of these, they make a big thing. Bring in a bunch of T-shirts into Dublin, right, to set up a pop-up shop beside the ground, like they have in all the World Cup venues. Are you going to be able to bring them up to Northern Ireland after Brexit? Is there going to be a Brexit? Are you going to have to pay duty on them? Are fans going from Donegal to Derry going to have to get a travel visa, travel permits? They're going to have to bring passports. Are the players coming down for training going to need work permits?
A, no, but B,
Well, why not?
even if they are,
We don't. You see that? We don't know. You see, that's the whole thing. We don't know.
yeah, but could you
You
not
might be
do?
putting the cart before the horse a little bit. Like, first thing is that the bid is in. We've got a year. They're up against France, who've held
South
it.
Africa, isn't it?
I
They
don't-
held it 8 years ago.
If there was no Brexit, or we knew there was going to be a Brexit, and we knew what the circumstances were going to be, right? If there wasn't going to be one, or if we knew what it was going to be, there was no question, I think, in my mind whatsoever that we'll win.
Well,
But there's all this uncertainty, and business hates uncertainty.
well, but could we not have a backup plan of
Moving all the games to Cavan.
moving all the games to anywhere, to Thurles, or to move? You need obviously 12 venues.
The IRFU is a cross-border
Yeah, and in
organisation,
time-
and there's very
In
little
times of
chance.
difficulty, it has always shown and made a demonstrative show of loyalty to Northern Ireland.
Absolutely,
And
but
vice
If
versa.
you've no
Yeah.
choice,
It has to be said.
Yeah,
if
that's
you've
true.
no choice, if Brexit
But listen,
goes
there was
so
far,
badly that you've
there
no
was
choice,
far bigger obstacles in place for 40 years of the Troubles, and the
No, there was no. You see, there
Excuse me,
wasn't.
hold on a
sorry.
second. There was people getting killed. There was the Irish rugby team was involved in a bomb when it was crossing the border for the first World Cup in '87. There was a judge and his wife were going the opposite direction. Davy Irwin and Nigel Carr were involved
Philip
in it, and Philip Rainey. So much so that it actually ended Nigel Carr's career. So there was there was still, I would say, at least a quarter, if not more, of the people in the stadium in the old Lansdowne Road came down from the north. There was great cross-border support for the national rugby team. So you just get over these burdens and these hurdles instead of putting them up in front of you and be worried about them. Be positive and work in order to cross over that instead of putting up these imaginary barriers.
But the other side, they weren't imaginary barriers because, for example, Wales didn't travel that time. They were a very real barrier.
I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the ones that you're putting up now for
But
Brexit.
You see, I'm not putting them. You see, that's the thing. They aren't real. We don't know what they are, and that's the point I'm making.
uncertainty.
Uncertainty. I mean, World Rugby and its sponsors are going to expect a financial return from the World Cup, right? They're going to want to know what that financial return, because you know how it's done when you plan anything.
You
You
have
want
to guarantee them.
Well,
Yeah.
the Irish government and the
Well,
UK government
might
have
have
to
to-
guarantee. Well,
yeah.
they have to. That's part of the rules.
Yeah, they might have to underwrite it, and
They
they don't
do.
know how much
They do have to
disturbance. Yeah, well, yeah, how much the disturbance is going to cost. That's my problem. My problem isn't the bid. The bid is the best bid without a doubt. It's the best bid in the world. It's a super bid, a bigly the best bid. It's by far the best bid. But there's this kind of elephant in the room,
We shall see.
and it's a Boris Johnson, Nigel Farage, Theresa May shaped elephant.
Wow,
Arlene Foster as well. It has to be said.
like they're behind the bid too.
Mm?
You know,
Allegedly.
well, they
Allegedly.
are. She was down for the launch of it. Like the Northern Ireland executive is certainly giving some funding towards it.
Yeah.
I think it was very interesting to hear Martin McGuinness use the phrase Londonderry or Derry.
You know it's over when you hear that.
They call it Stroke City, don't they?
They do, yeah. That was Jerry Anderson. He came up with the plug, because BBC has a rule that you have to alternate the use, and sometimes people call it Derry/Stroke Londonderry. So Jerry Anderson called it Stroke City.
And of course, the other good news for Ireland as well was that Jamie Heasup's try was announced the world try of the year
Yeah.
against Italy.
Oh yeah.
Like, it was a super try. It was
Team try,
almost reminiscent of the one that France scored against England back
Yeah, it was a
in
real try.
91
Yeah,
with
from
them.
end-to-end
behind-
stuff, yeah.
Behind the goal nearly.
No, it was a great try. Glad for the team, because it was a team try, and glad for Jamie that he gets the recognition for it. But it was a team try, and
Is that a way of softening the blow when he doesn't get World Player of the Year?
yeah. In fairness, you couldn't really argue with Bowden Barrett, could you?
Probably not.
Mightn't even get his game though.
That's it, yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? So just quickly, look, I saw a couple of the other matches of the weekend. Wales had a good, well, a narrow but good victory over Argentina. However, Argentina travelled from the far end of the world. Like
Yeah.
they came from Japan previous weekend, so
Yeah.
you got to think the fatigue was a little bit.
Especially since we're probably travelling. Well, they're probably travelling west, so because if they came from Argentina, so that's the best way to actually travel.
You don't know which way they came from, though. They could
Well,
have gone
it's
either
a
way.
lot of,
Yeah.
it's a lot of air miles.
They could be going from anywhere, yeah, because they're all playing in Europe.
Wales under Gatland were transitioning away from what we used to call Gatland ball.
Mm.
They seem to be reverting to it at the moment.
Well, maybe that's all Rob Howley. He's only been given the
Yeah.
playbook
Stick to you know, stick
Yeah.
to what you know, stick to knitting. One game that I felt sorry for Scotland. They were leading
Yeah,
practically
yeah.
Yeah.
the entire
The whole
match,
game, yeah.
and they got even Aussies had a guy sent to the sin bin, and they still couldn't put them away. They conceded a try into the sticks in the last minute.
Sometimes it's just not. It's
That's your day.
yeah. It's not your kind of. Scotland have been that way for about a year now. They just can't. They just can't get a break. Like
And the other game was England pretty much comprehensively beating South
Yeah.
Africa.
yeah,
And I didn't see that game live, but I watched the highlights,
I
the
did.
extended highlights on Sunday. And Jeremy Guskell was been interviewed by whoever the commentator, and they were saying it's an awful pity we're not playing New Zealand because we'd stuffed them. Bring on the World Cup. So it's great. Just the expectation levels are rising for the English again.
South Africa are pretty poor at the moment.
They
Oh,
are.
we beat them.
Yeah, well, but
With a second string team.
Yeah.
so England didn't even have to really get into first gear all that much.
No, they were shocking.
Yeah.
They bit of bluster at the beginning, and then they were.
Yeah.
They were
It's hard to
piss
know.
poor.
It's hard to know who was worse, them or Samoa against France.
I didn't see that game, but yeah,
Jesus.
I heard they were fairly muck laden.
They didn't even look. I mean, I'll tell you how bad it was. Right, Samoa didn't put. There wasn't a single penalty for a high tackle or a late tackle.
That's shameful.
I mean, that shows you kind of what their level
Commitment
of
was
focus
very
is
low,
like.
yeah. Well, poor Conor O'Shea got a right stuffing.
He didn't. He got the backlash.
We set it
Sorry,
up.
Conor.
There.
68-10.
Hopefully, they've got it out of their system now.
Yeah.
This try scoring bullshit. It's overrated. They should be going for 3-pointers like proper men.
Exactly. Well, we'll talk about New Zealand in the second half. So for now, thanks very much, boys, and thanks very much for watching. Cheers.